I'm empty.
So, the Soviet Union is a massive piece of shit, eh?
Can I have water, though?
Our water. La 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 la.
I don't think anyone's gonna get that search reference other than you.
Whoa! That's what happens when you share, fucking communists.
So was that like a microcosm of what we just watched in Chernobyl?
Yes.
I have a feeling.
Yeah.
It was like half science and half human error.
It was. Okay. So we just watched Chernobyl, the HBO miniseries. Fucking phenomenal. Thoughts, Jesus. Open us up.
The first episode just kind of perfectly captures exactly what you're getting yourself into. Mm-hmm. It is just an hour straight of tension and build up, and you know something's fucked. And the interesting thing about it is that from a person who knows what's going to happen, it's stressful because you know what's going to happen. But if you don't know the history, if you don't know anything about Chernobyl, you're just like, you're hanging on every word. 3.6, it's not that bad. It's bad, but it's manageable. 2,000, that's fucked. 12,000, okay. Like, that ramp up.
I've got to push back on you, because, like, going into this, had you heard the words Chernobyl before the show?
I've heard the words, yeah, of course.
And, did you know anything about it?
No.
Okay.
Not a thing.
So, I would say the majority of people have heard the words Chernobyl, and I would fall into the bigger majority of people who know that Chernobyl is a, nuclear disaster that was very, very bad. Yeah. But us, the majority, really don't know to the extent. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. We don't actually know the video, the human aspect of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, of course.
And what you're describing, being on every word, very much alludes to the horror atmosphere this show has in that first episode. It feels like a Godzilla movie, deconstructed, on its... Sort of like the Joker of Godzilla movies, right? It's a Godzilla movie without Godzilla, and you're just focusing on the human aspect, kind of like with Joker, right? Yeah. You're a DC movie without the big superheroes.
It reminds me very much of a Godzilla movie straight from Japan, because a lot of Godzilla films, especially the better ones, they oftentimes don't even really focus on Godzilla. He's not really the story point. It's how does Japan react to the situation? Because it's oftentimes a reflection of other disasters that Japan has suffered from.
And react is such a key word, because what the show does masterfully is the different perspectives. The reason why the first episode works so well is that every single time something happens, they jump to a new character that has the perspective to give you the most genuine reaction. Mm-hmm. You're never the third or the fourth or the fifth person to hear about something. You're the first person to discover that the reactor is missing. You know what I mean? Yeah. The core is gone, and then it will jump. Say you're now going to the hospitals, and you need to show patients. You're now in the perspective of the nurse, not the wife or the children waiting to hear. You're in that perspective, seeing firsthand. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it really goes to show you just how important information is, because we have the luxury of hindsight, but more importantly, seeing everything from almost like a God perspective of you get all the information. But if you imagine putting yourself in the position of any individual one of these people and following their storyline all the way through, how much of that are you left completely in the dark about anything that's happened? You know, what if you're the firefighter who sees a man whose glove and skin is melting from touching a rock, and you're told to go up there. Yeah. And then you're in the hospital until you die and get put in the ground in cement. Yep. Or what if you're his wife, and you don't know anything about what's happening, but you see all your friends who went to go watch the fire, bursting or whatever, and they're, crying and, begging for help, and, their faces are all red. Your husband is, beyond recognition, all of these things. You have no idea what's going on. Yeah. We do. We have that benefit, but any one of these characters are burdened by their own, inability to get the greater information. I think information is probably the most important aspect of this show.
I would say wrong. I would say lies. I would say lies are what really ties, because it's it's the information being withheld. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's like,
yeah.
I mean, you're in the right ballpark with information, but it's the fact that they lie about the information.
Yeah, it's not just the lack of information, but so much the misinformation as well.
Yeah, it's just like, it doesn't matter what the truth is. When you ask your boss, he will tell you what the truth is. He will tell you what the lie is for that moment. You know what I mean? Now, did you have a hot take for this show?
So here's the thing.
I fucking hate Trump.
But here's the thing. So I don't consider it a hot take. I think this show is probably one of the best things I've seen in a long ass time. It is perfect in every way. But my thing is, I thought about this a lot. Breaking Bad versus Chernobyl. It's hard because there's so much Breaking Bad. There's so much power. It's so good. So much character growth. So much progression. Slow build up. Right? For a moment I thought maybe, but I think I'd still say Breaking Bad for me is above Chernobyl.
Yeah, it's a universe to an isolated,
to a planet.
Yeah, well, to an event. Yeah,
sure. Yeah.
I think when talking about Chernobyl, I think you could like talk about how Chernobyl is better than a lot of arcs in Breaking Bad. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's the
especially some of the earlier ones.
Well, it's the ability though to I'd even say like you can put Chernobyl up against like something like season 4. You know what I mean? Like the final tension with Gus. But it's the idea of Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul is something where it's just like it is able to catch lightning in a bottle every single season. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's what we're talking about, where Chernobyl is that lightning in the bottle. One thing I do want to talk creatively. I wanted to throw you for a loop, give you the what moment for this podcast.
All
right. Okay, this is like one of the most well-written things you've ever seen.
Of course.
How similar is this to Joker in terms of like, this is just like a high caliber excellence in writing?
So I would say, in terms of comparing this to the Joker, I think I would run into the same problem as with Breaking Bad, where there's just so much more, because it's like almost 3 times as long, right? I would say that like Chernobyl is like it's just so much more, you know.
It's closer to 2 times as long, but there's a bigger gap between Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul than there is to Chernobyl and Joker.
Yeah.
Joker's pretty damn close. But what I'm getting to is just like, I mean, how good is Joker? You know what I mean?
Joker would be, if we're going like a star system, 5 stars, Joker is 10 out of 10. Like, I don't know, what metric do you want to go off?
I'm trying to get, like, what is your opinion on Joker?
I love the Joker. I think it's a great film. I mean,
and what do you think of Chernobyl?
I think it's a great show.
What if I told you that Todd Phillips' co-writer from both Hangover sequels is the guy who wrote this show?
No.
Yes. No, Jesus.
What?
Don't fucking purity test these people. Think about it, Jesus. This guy, Craig Mazin, he wrote Scary Movie sequels. Like around 2, 3, and 4.
Yeah.
And then he wrote Hangover 2 and 3. And then he made Chernobyl.
Damn.
There's such a character study, and Todd Phillips as well, of writers, creators who are in the business of the cheapest and lowest forms of comedy, like taking their shot at something like serious, you know what I mean? And it's actually fucking incredible, because like Chernobyl has a lot of very funny moments, you know what I mean, between the characters, and it's really interesting to see where if you're a comedy writer tasked with writing like 100 jokes a minute in a big studio film, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're just going to be like throwing shit at the wall, versus when you're writing something very human and realistic like Chernobyl, you really do get the best moments of comedy, you know what I mean? Same with Joker.
Yeah, you can really craft like the individual jokes. I definitely see that. That is astonishing to think that someone who can make like I've seen some of those Scary Movie sequels. Those things are abysmal.
Yeah.
And I have a burning distaste for both of the Hangover sequels, but especially that second one. I think the first one's still okay.
First one's great. I love the first one.
Yeah. There are a lot of really good jokes in that one.
Yeah.
But to see like that shift, both from Todd Phillips and now this, that's fucking wild.
I know you were in the dark for a minute, but that's why I was trying.
Yeah, you're trying to lead me. I see it now. That's fucking nuts.
It is, because it's like, holy shit. It's what people are capable of. And it makes you wonder how many other writers are out there who, you know, when they start out in, like, Hollywood, like, you know, they're stuck just sort of like, I've got to write this sequel for Hangover because that's the job I've been given, and it has to be written in this amount of time. I mean, you think of, like, X-Men Origins Wolverine or Transformers 2, which were written in, like, a weekend. You know what I mean? That's the sort of things that you run into with, like, even Terminator 3, where it's just, like, movies that are just sequels that are just written on a hot minute. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And moving back to Chernobyl, what they're allowed to do when they're like, okay, you have, you know, 5 episodes, tackle this however you want, and the different ways that he, you know, tackles it, and always focuses on the humanity, you know what I mean? That's the incredible focus of Chernobyl. I was watching, like, a couple interviews for this show, and you see how much they didn't want to do Pearl Harbor, where you just see the explosions and, like, the planes flying into ships, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They wanted to focus on the human struggle of the people that were there in Chernobyl, you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
I had the benefit of an incredible book written by a woman named Svetlana Alexievich, who's a Nobel Prize winning author, called Voices from Chernobyl, and it is a collection of first-person accounts. And I thought that was remarkable, and in many ways just as important, if not more so, than the various governmental reports and books and news articles that laid out the events of Chernobyl and the causes and the science. Her book really explained the human cost and the human aspect to this, which is what I was fascinated by. So the combination of those things created an enormous bulk of research that took years to put together, as well as turn into a show.
I could definitely see that, and I think no better character really kind of embodies that than, like, our core 3 that are the head of this dilemma. You know, Boris, it's Legasov, right? Legasov. And what's do you remember the woman's name?
Kubyak.
Yes, this is Ulana Homyuk with the Institute of Nuclear and...
So I think they're kind of like the core of it. And I really love what, like, what they kind of represent, right? So Legasov is kind of like stuck especially in episode 5, in this moment of, like, this is the most important decision. Everything before was to save all these lives and save everything, right? But what we do forward could save even more lives, could you know, and what he decides to do, he has 2 opposing opinions, like, kind of beating down on him. On one side, you have the do the truth, you know, all the way, commit to everything. And then on one side, you have tell half-truths, lie, do whatever they tell you because that will produce the best result. And you have to decide, like, which one is the best one. And at the end of it, even Boris, like, gives in and is like, no, you're right. This is the moment. You have to tell this truth. You know?
Which goes to, like, the theme and the heart of this entire series, which is, you know, what is the cost of lies? You know what I mean? And I think it, you know, this event is, you know, decades in the past, but so relevant now. You know what I mean? All the times in the last, like, 4 years that, you know, things have been leaked and revealed about, like, what Trump lied about saying, you know, it's just a flu, nothing to worry about. How many lives are lost because of those lies? You know what I mean? Yeah.
And how much of it was deliberate misinformation, how much of it was carelessness, how much of it was just a million other things, right? And that is, I think that's, like, that's why, like, it coming out when it has is, like, it probably could have come out at any time and it would have been relevant, because this type of situation where people in power lie and kind of cause this bleed down effect of pain and suffering and death is a tale as old as time, but especially now, it's so poignant.
The thing about like nuclear power and radioactive damage, it's something that is like so foreign because it's something that you cannot witness in your own life without it like being the end all be all, right? Yeah. So the thing is I think when it comes to other historical events that I feel like would be important to tell on this mini-series like scope would be like something like Hiroshima. You know, they mentioned it several times in the show. But it's something where when people talk about, like, oh, they dropped the bomb on Japan, you just think of bomb explosion, you know what I mean? But what this show really, like, showed us so well was the damage of the radiation, right?
Yeah, you don't need to be hit by an explosion to just have the rest of your life fucked.
Yeah, it's not a matter of a military target exploding in a millisecond, you know what I mean? It's also the surrounding schools, homes, people, you know what I mean?
And that those environments being forever fucked.
Yeah, you know? And I don't think until a TV show or a movie is able to, tell that story, display the horror the way this did, will people be able to recognize the atrocity of America?
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
There's a lot of really interesting documentaries about the after effects of the bombing in Japan, and I think that those show you a lot of like what happened and all of those things. But I think generally speaking, shows like this. Shows that they create a story, they craft a narrative, and they pull people in with that kind of ruse of it's a story, it's about emotion, about characters, and then really that's what like hits the most people. I think that's kind of like when you tell people, do you want to watch a documentary about Chernobyl or do you want to watch a miniseries? Yeah, most people are going to gravitate toward the miniseries.
It's like I love fucking documentaries, but it's always going to be the pieces of art with the acting and the performances of like Chernobyl that are going to hook me so much harder.
Of course, of course. It's natural almost. Yeah. It's unfortunate in some senses, but it's also natural. We gravitate towards stories because stories are some of the most important things that we have as human beings.
I mean, what is greater than a story? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Don't quote season 8, Abby, ever again. But
it's true.
But
it's true.
But
it's true.
Chernobyl is like it embodies a real life catastrophe, and people can see it, and now they can have at least a glimpse of the context and of the reality of this atrocity.
I mean, and that's what I have to point out. There are two main decisions that I feel like made the show what it is, and that is the choice of cutting down 30 different scientists doing separate things because you wouldn't be able to be emotionally attached to each scientist as much as you are to one. And it was so important that they included that information at the end, so that now you are able to appreciate all the scientists that did that work.
Yeah, you can see all those people.
Yeah, because I mean there are so many movies that will do that. They'll combine two people or make an amalgamation of these people to tell its story, but they never existed. You know what I mean? And then you start to question, but the fact that it showed you and it told you that truth in the show itself, it trusts you with that information.
And the best part about that is that when you have a main character whose the punishment he gets at the end of it is that his name will fall into irrelevancy, right? That no one will ever associate his great deeds with him. Yeah. So if the show had created a character to embody like 30 scientists, but not shown us that they existed and they were people and they were all here, and they are the reason that any of this was able to succeed, they would essentially experience exactly what he experienced, but on the screen.
Yeah, and there's a lot of we talk a lot about it in Westeros Whinging, and when we talk about Snyder's film, but like the framing, every single frame is like framed in a way that like always shows it's the everyday people who are saving today, are making things better, and it's the layers of bureaucracy and like leaders above you, the corrupt power that is fucking it up. You know what I mean?
At the end of the day, the people that suffer are these real people, the people who go in there and
put out the fires, the miners. And the thing about like the miners is, again, like when you're talking about someone who comes from a comedy background, when he's able to come up with the best joke of the entire show, which is the miners patting the minister of coal, until his entire suit is nothing but coal. That shit is fucking hilarious. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's just something you don't get when you're forced to do scary movies 2, 3, and 4, and 2 and 3 hangovers. You know what I mean?
And I think that the value of it is so much more too. Some of the best moments in, for instance, like Evangelion, are the moments of levity. The episodes that are just kind of about Shinji going to school and Misato and them having breakfast.
Yeah, and Asuka looking at his dick.
Stop.
It's what happened. It's true. It's true.
Regardless.
It's true. That's what matters, is the truth.
The truth. But those are some of the best moments because they break up the moments of true terror and tension and all of that emotion. And so we have these miners, and they're fun. They're great characters, which endears us to them. So when the bad shit happens, it feels worse. Yeah. But also, it breaks up these moments of like intense tension that keeps you on the edge of your seat, and those are some of the most important moments in these types of dramatic series.
Yeah. And the last thing I wanted to touch on was we talked about like the combinations of characters, but also it doesn't need so much be 30 people put into one character, but just a slice of life. I love the artistic choice of having episode 4 be centralized on the people who had to put down the animals.
Yeah.
And the background characters were Legasa and Boris, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that was so good. You know what I mean? It showed how much everyone around lost. So when you're told the little factoids at the end, it's not like, oh, well, I never thought about everyone around, because we were always thinking about everyone around. You know what I mean?
When you have like all of these young people that probably had to do crazy shit as a result of this catastrophe,
hundreds of thousands of just people,
and we get to see all of their experiences through the perspective of one in the form of Pavel, and the pain that he feels and the understanding of the older men who have experienced exactly what he's feeling at different moments in history. It shows you just the effect that that people have for the decisions of people who do not have to reap the consequences of their decisions.
Yeah, and the director said it is not only just the horror of the beginning of the show, but almost the war that we see in the last half of the show. You know what I mean? Just the needless, and nothing is bettered by all this violence. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that one of the best scenes in the whole show was that old lady with the cow talking about how she's been here for 86 years, but like every single time there's someone else in power who sends men like you just following orders. It was the Jews, it was the Poles, you know what I mean? It was Stalin and his famine, you know what I mean? Over and over and over again, and it's always because people like you just follow orders.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then at the end of it, none of her words matter because she's just put down. Just like her cow.
Well, she's not put... Well, I mean, she dies of radiation, but...
Wait, really?
Yeah.
I thought he killed her.
No,
Pip killed her.
No, Pip don't kill her.
Oh.
She either got on the bus or she just sat there and died of radiation. Yeah.
Okay.
But that's Chernobyl.
The way the cookie crumbles, man.
That's just how fucking the Soviet Union crumbled.
Oh, those Russians.